It's up front.
Correct. Because, like I said, Cesardic's very clear that he's not building the positive case, right? So to say that he's trying to build the case for scientific foundations of race realism is untrue. He's just saying that there are possible avenues that people could pursue scientifically. He doesn't attempt to build a strong case for race realism. So so the accusation is that he's making a positive claim, right? All he's doing is giving possible defenses for people who do make the positive claim. There's a distinction there that's important.
Can you read the abstract again, Joe? Because I think that I might agree with Iron, but I want to be very clear. I heard correctly. Would you mind reading that again?
Just link it.
That's like one of Joe's debate tactics. You'll notice that he says that very often. What's wrong with what I just said? Like, I mean, it's some type of rhetorical device that you use. It's a very
Okay,
Well, it's
Shamos
because
doing
he didn't
interference for
respond to
Ian
what
right
I.
now. We're gonna have to have Shamos step out of the debate.
Well, hold on.
You're gonna have John. Let me explain something to you. I mean, Jovan. Let me explain something to you. You don't
Shamos,
dictate anything
Shamos,
with regards to me on
Shamos,
this
you're
topic.
not.
Obstruct the conversation right now.
Yeah, quit
It's
obstructing.
gonna have to be server muted.
Don't server. Just
Oh.
Shamos, don't obstruct.
I'm not obstructing. I'll be quiet. I just want Joe to read that one more time for me. That's all I ask.
Yeah, hold on. I'm about to link. Of course, I want to leave. Okay, so let's see. Do you want the whole? Because I'll just read from here.
Just what you read. Just what you read.
Which attempts to build a strong scientific case for the existence of human races, based on genetic, morphometric, and behavioral characteristics, as well as on a thorough critique of opposing positions.
That I don't think that's what you read earlier.
That is what he read.
That is. I'll look at my notes and see.
No,
actually, in my notes, I quote
that
it.
wasn't what I was referring to.
I don't know what you're referring to then. The guy's abstract.
These are the two.
Remember, he used the word about common arguments against race realism, and that the conception of race realism.
I didn't say race realism,
or whatever it was. That I mean, it wasn't what you read previous.
Okay, so here's the other guy's abstract, Nasardic's abstract. Let's see. My aim is to challenge the arguments that are usually thought to invalidate the biological concept of race. I will try to show that the way race was defined by biologists several decades ago is in no way discredited by conceptual criticisms that are now fashionable or widely regarded as cogent. These criticisms often arbitrarily burden the biological category of race with some implausible connotations, which then opens a path for a quick and limited move. However, properly understood, the biological race proves remarkably resistant to these deconstructive attempts. Moreover, by analyzing the statements of leading contemporary scholars who support social constructivism about race, I hope to demonstrate that their eliminativist views are actually in conflict with what the best contemporary science tells us about human genetic variation. How is what I said mischaracterizing anything of what I just said? Of what I just quoted?
Well, that's the quote I was asking you to read earlier. I'm glad you finally found it.
Well,
read the
you
last
weren't
sentence one last time.
I'm not going to read the. Okay. What was your? I would have to
just
read
link
it for you again.
Well, but Shamos, the abstract Iron.
You don't have
posted
to read
the-
it for me. Just link it.
No, it's linked right now. Iron posted.
So here's the issue. He says that he wants to support arguments that are commonly upheld by race realists, or he wants to show that that the argument that race is a biological concept. This is evident when you survey the scientific research on human variation, and he wants to critique opposing views of that position. I don't know. I think
like I said, it's a strong.
No. Iron was making the claim that the abstract merely has him defending against criticisms, not advancing a case towards race realism.
no,
I'm sure
I
that
just
up
said
until
that it
about-
was though. I just said that that's what he's doing. Race realists think that the
Well,
scientific
that contradicts what you said earlier.
the race realists think that scientific research validates a biological race concept.
That just contradicts what you said earlier. You said he was trying to put forward a strong case for race realism, and then Iron denied that.
I
And now
didn't say that.
It says that in the abstract. You're citing, moron.
It says that he's trying to put a strong case of race realism.
No, that's what
Hold
you
on,
said
hold
to
on, Iron.
And
It
Iron
says that.
denied that to you.
Listen, here's the straw man. One of the latest rounds is represented by a paper by Nevin Sasardik, which attempts to build a strong scientific case for the existence of human races.
Sure it
That's
does.
not what he-
Sure
that's
it
not what
does.
he
He
does in the
cites
paper.
scientific papers to support the
Giving
case.
defenses for
No,
his-
it's just
He
a defense
cites-
against
not building
criticism.
the
No,
case.
no,
I
it's
agree
not.
with Iron.
Seamus,
Yeah, you're wrong.
he cites scientific research.
That's fine.
In an attempt to criticize it and talk about the conception of race put forward by biologists a few decades ago, talk about the criticisms and how that conception still remains intact. I just take that this conception
That
hasn't
conception
been,
remains intact. What do you mean when you say that?
that
Seamus,
it remains intact with regards in face of the criticism.
Okay, so
Seamus the
he's
modern?
not trying to defend
or
it.
what?
I don't know. Seamus is, for some reason, he's stepping in on this. I think it's because he tried to act like he knew about the topic the other day, and he's trying to make up for it.
I don't know. That just sounds like meta to me. That just sounds like meta to me.
Well, this
Everyone
is
should
all
notice
meta. This is all meta. I'm arguing with Iron, and
asking
you stepping
asking
in
you to reread
is
the
meta.
quote, then offering an analysis. Okay, so you think I've
You're
engaged
cutting
in meta
in
when
and
I
out.
asked you to reread the quote?
Did someone kick him?
No, you probably.
Okay.
Shamos, we're just gonna let Joe and
So-
Iron talk.
Yeah.
now, all right?
So,
Okay, that's fine. I'll say this last thing, and then look, I'm okay. Every time someone has always said, "Look, we're doing a one-on-one,"
No, I
I've
said that. That's
always
fine. I just
stepped
asked.
back.
okay.
Always
Do it now then.
Okay.
All right, cool. So, Iron, the arguments that are being supported by Nasardik are
I wanted to say
supported.
one last
The
thing.
arguments that
Shamos.
are the arguments.
I
The
said
already
that
talking,
before.
Shamos.
I said that before, and then Joe. I said that before, and then Joe just started talking.
the
Are you kidding?
arguments.
I had
talking.
mentioned
You
that. I
muted
wanted to say.
yourself.
Oh my
I said I want to
gosh.
say one last thing, and then I'll step back. I'm okay with y'all having a one-on-one.
But then you muted yourself, Shamos.
Look, I only muted myself because I got stuff going on back here. Okay, that's the only reason. There's not any. Don't read into it any more than that. Let me make this last point. I just want to criticize something Joe said. Okay, about me
Who
Go ahead,
cares?
divulging in meta. Look, all I did was ask you about the quote in question, and then I offered my analysis of the quote. Okay, I didn't say anything about meta. Okay, not anything at all. So that's just bullshit. Okay, if you want a one-on-one iron, feel free.
I'm
Go
glad we
ahead,
have. I'm
Joe.
glad we have your. I'm glad that you consent for this one, but I guess you still don't consent for the Justin one. Iron, you ready to go?
Yeah, buddy.
All right. So, what about the content of Nasardic's article, or just what about the arguments that are critiqued by Massimo Pigliucci throughout his article that are used by
What about?
Nasardic? Well, do you think that he strawmanned the arguments used by Nasardic?
Well, you're going to concede that the introduction is a straw man, right?
No, but do you think that the arguments,
What do you mean? No, it's pretty clear.
you haven't demonstrated that? And when I asked you
Which
to
part
show
of what I
what's
said do you
wrong, when I
disagree
asked you
with?
to show what was wrong with what I said, Shema's white knighted for you. So why don't you do that? Why don't you show what was wrong with what I said again?
Okay, I put it in the side chat. You can tell me which part of that you disagree with. That's the nature of the straw man.
Who is this a quote?
No, that's what I'm telling you.
There
The
are
straw
two
man is.
components to anti-race realist arguments posed by the opposition. One is philosophical, two is technical. He offers a defense of race realist position on grounds 1 and 2, but does not put forward or build a case of the race realist. He's saying that the opposition is wrong because the scientific research supports a biological race concept.
No, that's not what he did.
He does. It's what he even says in the abstract. Iron, what's wrong with the arguments what's wrong with the critiques of his arguments?
Well, I want us to be able to get past this first point, right?
What's wrong with the critiques that he gave of Nasardic's arguments?
All right, so he gives philosophical objections to the arguments which are being posed, right? He's saying that there's problems with these arguments which are going against the race realists in the realm of philosophy, and this is why. And then he also says there's problems with what they're saying regarding the technical details, and that's what these are. But he doesn't put forward the positive claim about race realism, right? He doesn't have anywhere in his article where he says there are 5 races. I believe that to be true. This is the argument for why that is the
Sure,
case.
he does. Yeah, he does actually. He quotes Tang et al. As agreeing. He quotes other scientists as agreeing that that certain tests have shown that populations or certain people or genetic clusters track the race concepts that we have.
Yeah, he says that in the criticism of the arguments against the race realist position.
So, but he's not supporting that when he quotes several
He's not
different.
making the positive claim, Joe. That's the
He's
part I
not.
don't
Why is he
understand what you
bringing
don't
it up then?
understand
Why
about
is he
that.
bringing it up then?
Because it's a relevant objection or a relevant criticism of the argument.
How
that's
is
being
it
made.
relevant? I asked you how is it relevant, and you told me because it's relevant.
Listen, Joe, if I say this is the positive claim, right? I have a cat on
Why
my
can't you
lap.
answer my question?
I am answering your question. Do you have the patience to listen to the answer?
Go ahead.
Okay, if I say I have a cat on my lap, that's the positive claim, right? If somebody says you don't have a cat on your lap because it's raining pies, right? That's just a nonsensical argument. If a third party says that argument against his claim doesn't follow or that objection doesn't follow due to this error, that third party which pointed out that error is not putting forward the positive claim that there's a cat on my lap. And that's exactly what's happening in regards to Sardic with this paper. However, your person who's doing the criticism has made the claim or the straw man that Sardic is actually putting forward the positive claim.
Okay, so I'll ask my question again. When the Sardic
Which part
quotes,
of that do you not agree with?
Well, I don't think it's relevant to my question, so I'll ask it again. The Sardic quotes several different. He quotes a couple different scientists who agree that the biology tracks racial categories.
Sure.
Okay, how is that not a positive? How is that not presenting evidence for a biological race concept?
if the third party cited scientist who said that it doesn't rain pies, that person wouldn't be putting forward or whatever, wouldn't be putting forward the positive claim that there's a cat in my lap, right? The analogy still holds. It's just you're talking about nothing.
So he's not supporting the claim that biology affirms that the current biological sciences affirm biological race concept.
The science is in disagreement, right? He's just saying that if you were putting forward the positive claim, this is the kind of study that you would look to try and defend that position, and that this is the thing that would make arguments against your position incorrect. But that doesn't mean that he's putting forward the positive claim.
Wait, I don't wait, so he's saying this is how you could put forward a positive claim, but
Yeah, buddy.
but he's not putting forward.
Up with the conversation.
No, he's saying this is how you can put forward a positive claim, but he's not putting forward a positive claim.
Yeah, Joe, it happens with intellectually honest people all the time, right? They don't have to be putting forward the position to say, this is what you could do, or this is what's wrong with the opposition's point of view.
Okay, I think I see where you're confused. It might be the case that you think that Massimo Pigliucci is criticizing Nasardic as being a race realist. But the case is that Massimo Pigliucci is criticizing the arguments that Nasardic is using that are also used by race realists.
Yeah, but that's at odds with the part of the abstract that says that he's making a strong scientific case.
But it's not at odds with the strong scientific case that he's giving. And so, I mean, and that's the meat of the issue, Iron. So what about, and Massimo Pigliucci disagree. Well, hold on, I'm not done. And Massimo Pigliucci disagrees with the arguments that Nasardic gives. What's wrong with Massimo Pigliucci's counter arguments?
Pseudoscience.
Well, so there's probably like 3 chunks that we could go through. But before we get to that, I just want you to concede that he did in fact strawman Nasardic.
I don't think so, because I thought I just clarified. He's not saying that. I mean, he doesn't even have to say that he thinks that this is a case that Nasardic actually believes in. He's saying that the arguments that make up Nasardic's case don't work.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things that he doesn't have to do, but there's only one thing that he did, right, which is build a straw man.
It's not, because I just explained what he did. Do you agree? Do you disagree that that's what he's doing?
We'll take your pick. He was either going to call you out as a racist or he was going to set up a straw man. One way or the other, he was going to troll.
I just feel like you don't want to actually go through his arguments.
We can go through the arguments, right? I think there's enough wrong with the criticisms there that we could go through that. I'm just saying
let's go through them.
He's poisoning the well by strawmanning the opposition as building a positive claim, which he didn't build.
Okay, so even though he's not giving a positive case that people who think that race is a biological concept, let's go over Massimo Pigliucci's critiques of the arguments that he gives that are usually used by people who think that race is. I'm not done talking, Seamus.
Look,
let's go.
Man. Stop getting all gay on me and like whiny little bitchy. Just cut the attitude, all right?
Seamus, you interrupted me. I would prefer being able to speak.
Before you move on, I just want to see if it's possible that I could weigh in before you move on.
Seamus, do you want to hear the arguments that he gives or what?
Absolutely, but I do
awesome.
Want to.
So sit down.
Before we get to that point,
and let's go through them.
Before we get to that point, I would like to weigh in, though.
We don't need to weigh in.
Okay. So,
just type it, Seamus.
Look,
yeah.
I mean, what
you
kind
can just type it. It's
do you
fine.
think this is? I'm being polite, right?
Because no, you're not. You're interrupting.
No, you're not.
And I gave you guys.
You're obstructing. You're obstructing.
Look,
just stop.
I gave them the opportunity to speak. They're about to move on.
No,
to
this isn't. This isn't.
But he's in the middle of talking when you jumped in. Like, just type.
This isn't like a debate or something.
Yes, it is.
They're going to go on to the
criticism.
Yes, it is.
Then he's going to put.
Yes,
this isn't a fucking debate.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
Why are you guys so scared to let me just give like a paragraph?
We're not scared.
Of what
it's
I think?
Just that we were listening to a debate and you're obstructing.
Well,
and we're interested in hearing it continue, but you're obstructing. Stop it.
Yeah.
What kind of room do you think this is?
Yeah, you guys
Okay?
are complaining. Shamos could have already fucking finished by now. Instead, you guys are complaining.
All right, but it's the principle of the matter. We're all
What kind of
listening
room
to
do
the
you
debate.
fucking think
Write it
this
out,
is,
Shamos.
okay?
Write
Look,
it
if
out.
he's just gonna, if this is gonna go on, fine. What's your
John
point?
thinks it would have been done by now.
Hold on,
I
time
bet
out.
if-
What's your
I bet
point?
if Jack or Josh
Yeah.
wanted to
What's
weigh
your
in on
point,
something, Joe,
Shamos?
given their
Shamos,
relationship with Jack and Josh,
what's
would have
your
let them
point?
weigh in. And
What's
not
your
been
point?
right,
Go
right?
ahead.
So if you guys can't, oh,
Oh.
finally! So I had to go through all this to say one paragraph,
Yes,
right?
you had to go through all this because
Why
you were scared of
Fucking
obstructing.
hell, Jesus
Just
Christ.
go.
This
Okay.
is what they do.
Look, with regards to him making quotes, it's not enough to say because he's quoting the arguments of the race realist that in fact he himself is advancing that position. It's plausibly the case that he's quoting race realist arguments to put the context for the criticisms, right? If you just had the criticism without the quote in the context of what they're criticizing, it wouldn't be as effectual, right? So it seems perfectly within reason that he's quoting the race realist arguments in the context, show the criticism, and show why he thinks the criticism is false. That does not, it doesn't follow that because he's quoting race realist arguments, that he himself is advanced position. In fact, it's quite consistent that he's linking those quotes just in terms of putting it in context so he can make his critique of the arguments against.
Okay.
Wow, how long did that take?
Okay, so it's actually kind of outdated because I made the point that he's putting forward arguments that are supported by race realists. What's wrong with those arguments? So, Iron, let's go through the arguments. Do you have one that you think Massimo Pigliucci is especially like?
Well, there's like three areas that he goes through.
Go ahead.
We go through them in order, right? So like the first one, he essentially just subscribes to a particular view on what a subspecies is, and then just spends the rest of his paragraphs railing against how Sesardic is incorrect, and how Sesardic himself not even putting forward the view, how Sesardic's criticism is incorrect due to subscribing to a different conception of subspecies. But obviously, if you're subscribing to a different view of subspecies, you're just going to think the other person is wrong, right? So it doesn't actually do anything to say, oh, I subscribe to a different view. This is how my view is so much better than yours, and shit on somebody without actually making arguments.
Okay, so this is what actually happened. Sesardic just claimed that usually in biology, race and subspecies are essentially synonymous. And what Massimo Pigliucci pointed out is that that's actually not the case. Oftentimes, people make strict distinctions between the two concepts. They'll talk about subspecies and race, this same thing, in the same paper, meaning different things, right? He also said that it changes from different subject to different subject in biology. For example, it tracks ecological differences between the different species that you're talking about to talk about subspecies versus talking about race. So that's actually his criticism. But one of the things is Pigliucci also disputed in the paper that this synonymous concept between race and subspecies is commonly used in the papers about human variation. Do you think that that's right or wrong?
Yeah, I think people who subscribe to the subspecies view in which humans can be categorized as different subspecies, where that's synonymous with race, they use it that way, sure.
No, I'm asking you if you think that that's something that's in the literature on human variation.
Yeah, it's contentious, right?
What do you have evidence for that?
Yeah, I just cited the evidence, right? I just put it. This is from the work that you're citing, but
No,
there's a
but
letter-
I
but
said
well,
no. Hold on. No,
no,
because I said that he had no support for that claim, and then I explained how it's actually a very contentious issue. The differences between race and subspecies. So I didn't cite something that you could use to support your position at all.
Joe, Sesardic didn't make the pot. Again, you're not understanding the whole nature of this work. Sesardic does not make the positive claim that subspecies and races are synonymous. He says there are race realists who have that view.
He doesn't even
and
say
this is their
that. No.
justification.
Oh my God. You have you read the article? Hold on.
Yeah,
Let me
Joe.
find it. Let me find what he says. Okay. In biology, the concept of race is often regarded as synonymous with subspecies. Cites nothing to support that.
What's the necessary citation? Your own person who's criticizing says agrees, right? But there's a
No,
large
he doesn't.
affinity,
I just said that he doesn't.
in biology distinguishing the two. There's people who write all sorts of different things in biology.
Wait, I said that the Massimo Pigliucci disagrees with that. In
No,
fact,
he
here's
doesn't.
what he says. He says, Sesardic makes a crucial mistake right off the bat. He strongly hints at an equation between human races and biological subspecies. In fact, that's an even more modest claim.
What's your benchmark for often?
What's his benchmark for often? That's the thing. He just said they often do it.
I don't know. It just seems like if you take it at the colloquial value, often is going to be the fact that it comes up fairly frequently, right? Like frequently enough to be remarkable.
Okay,
The introduction of this criticism, the author that you're putting forward talks about how this race debate is constantly coming up. So it seems like people would be oftentimes investigating the nature of race and subspecies and what have you.
That's not the nature of the argument. The issue is that they often say that race is synonymous with subspecies, not that the topic often comes up.
Yeah, are you saying that there are people who don't do that?
Yeah, so here's what Pigliucci says. There is certainly a large, if certainly not ununanimous, literature in biology distinguishing the two. And he cites one of his own papers, but also a paper by this guy named Templeton.
Right, so it's contentious, right?
What's contentious?
Whether or not they're synonymous is contention even by this person's admission. He's saying there's a lot of writing on the subject, but there's no unanimous decision, right?
Are you agreeing with me now?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you that
Okay,
the
then.
person that you cited said that it's not a settled matter, right? Which goes against them saying that it has to be based off this specific understanding of subspecies.
No, well, this is the thing, and let me clarify it because I'm not sure if you're confused. Sesardic says that race and subspecies are often regarded as synonymous in biology. Now, a criticism of that claim is that it's actually not, and there's actually not a lot of agreement about what race in biology means and what subspecies in biology means. And he cites another paper he uses before with another author and another person named Templeton.
Just seems like you're caught up on this word often. I don't know what hint.
I'm not. You are. You brought it up.
No, you brought it up, right?
No. This is what happened. You said that Massimo Pigliucci just kind of complained about the fact that Sesardic said that they were synonymous. And I told you what Pigliucci's criticism of it was.
There's no criticism. He's just saying a lot of people disagree.
Okay, so when Sesardic says that people think these two terms are synonymous in biology, and Massimo Pigliucci says that's not the case, and he cites other people as supporting that, why is that not undermining what Sesardic says?
Sesardic didn't say biology is a science or consensus that these things are synonymous. All he was that people oftentimes equate the two, right? Which is the case. There's entire papers about it.
He didn't say people. He said in biology.
Yeah, in the field of biology.
Yeah.
Right. People oftentimes equate subspecies to race.
Okay, but that was disputed.
It's not disputed. Just a lot of people disagree with doing it that way.
Okay, so even though people often do it, they usually disagree on how to do it.
Yeah, people oftentimes do all sorts of things that other people disagree with.
Okay, even though they often say these things are synonymous, it's actually the case that there's a lot of disagreement about whether or not they're synonymous.
Correct.
Okay. I guess with that, let's move on. So, what's another thing?
I don't know. I gave the first one. Why don't you do the second one?
Okay, so the thing is, I don't think that he mischaracterized what Nasardik said. Like, I think that Nasardik incorrectly, or I think that he just pointed to these two classic papers. One of them you've used in the past, by Rosenberg, and then another one by Tang et al. And he said that these papers confirm the argument that there is that the biology of humans track our racial categorizations. But then Massimo Pigliucci pointed out that even in these articles, it says that you could construct groups of human variation into rough populations that cohere with the folk concept of race. But he noted that they also constructed populations from human variation that would be like 7 groups. And then he constructed groups that would be like 2 or 3. And then he said that you can have subgroups within those different groups. So Rosenberg, didn't he didn't present evidence that the populations we can group humans into cohere with the folk concept of race, because that was just based off of whatever research aims that they had in mind. But if you have a different research aim, you could say that you can group the human populations into 69 different races.
Correct.
Okay, so
he cited that to demonstrate that there's a coherency between these populations, which are called races, and the genetics that these people have, right? But he didn't say how many there would be necessarily. Like, you could have as many as you want. You could have like 10, 600, 5, 1. Like, it doesn't really matter.
What does it mean to say that our racial categories match up with human biology if you can have 50 different population groups and people want to say that there are only roughly 5 races?
Yeah, lay people say lots of different things, right? But it'd be like asking you, how can it be the case that you have different groups like based off hair color and then there's a genetic explanation for why people have different hair colors, and that's how we arrive at these different groups.
Yeah, but do you think? Well, wait. How many races do you think there are?
I'm not sure. I think there's probably at least dozens, probably closer to hundreds.
Hundreds of them?
Yeah, probably. Well, I mean, as evolution goes along, they get pared down typically, but there could be potentially 100 or more. I'm not sure.
What are you referring to when you say black people then?
Well, black people is a catch-all for a variety of different black subraces.
Subraces?
It's just an umbrella term. It's just easier than trying to point out every single form. You could just say something like Africans, but some people don't live in Africa, etc. It becomes messy.
Yeah, but even if you say something like Africa, you're no longer appealing to race. You're appealing to geographic location.
Yeah, but that becomes tricky because that's generally considered to be part of the taxonomy of an organism, right?
What does?
Locations or environments that pertain to the organism.
But you're not talking about their tax. You're not talking about their taxonomy. You're just talking about their location.
I'm not sure what you mean. The entire discussion is about taxonomy.
No, but when you said you could just call them Africans, what I told you about that is that that's not even appealing to their race. That's appealing to geographic location.
Yeah, Africans is colloquially how we refer to the races, each of them from Africa or being shaped by Africa. Right? Like if you say it's Siberian
But
tiger,
there's
if
people
you
in
say it's
South
Siberian
Africa.
tiger, you're also referring to a geographical location, right? But you could take a Siberian tiger out of Siberia, and you wouldn't stop calling it a Siberian tiger.
But what about people in South Africa?
What about them?
Well, you're saying that if you appeal to Africans, then it's really just colloquially talking about people who are like sourced to Africa, like how a Siberian tiger is sourced to how that tiger has a place of origin. But there are plenty of people who are in Africa that are white, right? Would you say
that's
that
why I
they're
say it's easier to call them black people, right? Because there's black people in America instead of saying Africans when there's obviously African Americans in America.
so are you saying it would actually be more accurate not to use race but instead to use geographic location?
No, I'm saying that's included in what a race is. I'm just saying that the term black, like I wouldn't say that black is a race, right? That's nonsense.
I don't
It's just colloquially how
wait.
we refer to a group, a collection of different races.
There's no black race?
No, obviously not.
What is a race?
A race is a recognizable ethnicity that shares genetics and ancestry, right? It's a tightly bound reproducing family that's genetically or otherwise remarkable or recognizable from others.
What can you give me an example of a race?
Yeah, you could probably look at the Anglo-Saxons, right? If you look at the breakdown of them, if you look at the haplogroups there, you can find a race there.
They're Anglo-Saxons. Do you know what it means to say someone? You know what Anglo-Saxon means?
Yeah, it refers to a specific linguistic group and cultural group.
Okay, so that's a
Can I
race?
ask a clarifying question, please?
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt.
Well,
do you mean something, Ian? Do you mean something more specific than just every genetic variation in every local?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
I don't know. I think we're all just kind of confused. I thought that you thought that there was a black race and a white race.
That's absurd, Joe.
It's a. I didn't know that.
It's because you're not informed on the topic.
I was mistaken. I didn't know that you didn't think that there was a white race and there was a black race.
I mean, there's going to be a collection of what we call colloquially like white races. There's going to be a collection of ethnicities, haplogroups, or whatever, which we'll generally call white because they share the quality of having light skin. But there's no like one catch-all white race, clearly.
I don't understand. I mean, it seems like when you say when you've identified a race, you use another classification rather than. I mean, look, if it's just
Yeah, he switched.
no, hold on,
There are many
hold on. No,
white
no,
races.
this isn't other people, right?
Well,
This isn't.
then
I mean, how about Iron? You. It seems like you don't even agree with the findings of the Sardix paper, then.
I don't know why you would say that.
Well, because he thinks there is a biological race concept, and well, not he thinks, he puts forward arguments that that support the claim that there are biological races.
Yeah, there are.
But sorry, I forgot the key part there. There are biological races, and they match up with the racial categorizations we use. But you disagree with that.
We all use different ones all over the place. What would that mean?
But you disagree with that, though. You don't think that there is a black race, there is a white race.
He didn't make that claim, right? He's just, I mean, different countries in different areas use different concepts of race, right? So what would it mean to say the one that we use, right? Or to go to just the big five or like the folk taxonomy or the folk concept of races? That wouldn't have anything to do with the science.
Iron, I don't know if like Iron
You
when
listen,
he says the categorizations, we can go and find out the quote that he uses and find out what they mean by the categorization. But let's just say it does. When he says our racial categorizations, he doesn't mean whatever is in your head about what a race is. He means the folk concept of race. If he meant the folk concept of race, that would mean you would disagree with that claim, right?
Yeah, if he was saying specifically that only 5 races exist, I would disagree.
Okay. And he said they exist and that there's support in the in the literature in biology that support those classifications. You actually disagree with that.
I disagree with the use of race there. I'd say that it's not fine enough for my liking.
Okay. So would people say that there are that there is biological evidence supporting the claim that there is a black race, there is a white race? You disagree with them?
Well, I don't disagree with them because I understand the spirit of what they're saying, right? But if
No.
they meant literally, like if they meant that literally, then I would disagree.
Okay. I don't know if you don't think that the biological race concept is supported in that sense, I think you're on my side.
I think that you think that the differences in race are better explained by culture than by genetics, right? That's where we disagree.
Well, but the thing is, I don't even understand what your concept of a race is. So I don't know how I would convince you until I get a handle on that. Because if your concept of a race doesn't cohere with the concept of a race that are supported by the arguments given by Nasardic, nor do they cohere with the arguments put forward that are refuted by Massimo Pagliucci, then I don't feel like, I mean, I guess I have to know if I have a problem with your concept of a race, but I don't even know what it is if it's not the ones that are discussed in these papers.
Sardic doesn't discuss only one specific concept of race, right? He just gives a generalized account.
Well, no. Well, I told you the support he's given, right? And I asked you if you've agreed with that support, and you said no.
Well, listen, he cites the Rosenberg conclusions, right? But that's only to indicate that there are biologically coherent groupings which occur when you examine people's genes.
I mean,
It's not there to assert that only 5 should be used or only 5 exist.
well, yeah, you disagree with that. I know that now. Because if people thought that only 5 were affirmed by the biology in any non-arbitrary sense, you would disagree with those people.
I mean, if it was shown scientifically, I'd like to think I wouldn't disagree. But yeah, provisionally, I disagree.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. If this is backed up scientifically, maybe if they could demonstrate the support, but I don't think it is. And there's reasons that I've given, but there's also reasons given by Massimo Pigliucci. But now it seems like you agree.
Yeah, we agree with something, sure.
All right, pack it up. I guess if people want to ask, if people want to ask questions now.
All right, thank you. Can you provide me a link with these two papers? I scrolled up, I couldn't find them. I seen the photos of the abstract. Do you have that, Joe?
Here's Pigliucci's paper, and let me download and I'll upload this article. But oh yeah, I'll download and upload it. Hold on. If I have it. Okay, hold on. Why? What's up? Seamus?
Oh, sorry. Say that again.
I just asked what's up.
You asked what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have some things I want to say, but they're not really with regards to what you guys were discussing, because I just would like to read through it.
Okay.
First.
I sent the Sardex paper, and I put in the main chat. Did I? Yeah, I put in the main chat Massimo Pigliucci's paper.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about the papers, but it sounds like Iron said he believes there might be hundreds of races, but the white races he's going to call whites.
He doesn't think they're a race, it sounded like.
No,
Actually, that would be.
There's a bunch of races, hundreds of white races, hundreds of black races. But the white ones he's going to call the whites, the white races. But you can just call them one race, one super group of races.
So, I mean, what is the definition of a race that Iron is working with?
That's a good. I mean, that.
Whatever biology can show to be useful.
If he's not here,
And then
try and repeat it.
each of them will be a race. But the white ones will all be part of the white races. And he'll group those together.
He said if there was something.
It's ridiculous.
White though.
He said if there was something remarkable or, I guess, distinguishable about them, genetic or otherwise.
Genetic diversity in humans is so low.
Do you not see that like as being such a vagary, right? We could have two people stood next to each other, and that makes them distinguishable. Are you saying you couldn't distinguish two people stood next to each other?
Yeah, I'm even further.
That's the nature of taxonomy.
Well, Iron, what are you saying other than every single genetic variation in every single local variation? It could just be anything, anywhere. Are you saying anything from that? Yeah. Right. So Iron's position is just fucking. It's nothing. It's everything. It's anything.
Well, it's a convention, right? That's how it works.
I disagree with cladistics in terms of taxonomy.
I mean, I think I'm just gonna challenge you to find something in taxonomy which isn't gonna be susceptible to that same objection.
Yeah, if you use cladistics, when you do cladistic taxonomy, it's all about descent.
Well, I don't think a eukaryote, right? It doesn't. I don't think it matters. France or Germany.
Hmm?
Do you?
What?
Do you think for something to be classed? It has to be in a particular location.
Location. You
Yeah.
asking me about location?
Oh no,
Location
Ian.
doesn't have to do with quantity.
Asking Ian because he thinks that's just subject to everything in taxonomy, right? But I'm asking you something like a eukaryote is subject to location, like that. What is Ian pointing to?
Yeah,
for his criteria
people
of
exist
race?
in different locations, right? Why wouldn't you be able to simply say you're standing on one side of the street, so you're one race, and you're standing on another side of the street, so you're a different race if you're going by location?
Right, but we do other things in taxonomy rely on, right?
Yeah,
So
we
it's
do
not
other
everything
things
in
by
taxonomy.
convention.
Location isn't biology
No,
either.
Cladistics is not just convention; it's descent.
Yeah, sure, but descent is only relevant due to convention, right? Like you could organize everything in terms of how tall they are, how long. You could have an entire taxonomic model based on that.
That doesn't show anything biologically interesting, though.
Well, you'd expect to find variations in genes for different heights and lengths, right?
No, you wouldn't, because you're not even grouping them into different animals now, and so the genes that control those things would be impossible to really meet out when you consider that some things are just a single cell. It's asinine.
Iron, you're saying that genes align with the concept of race, right? Or somehow like this?
No, Ian's position has been reduced down to anything and everything can be its own.
I'm
Well,
saying that genes are
how does
responsible for the phenotypes we recognize.
The genotypes. The
What
phenotypes.
about do you not think that location plays a part?
Yeah, I've said lots of times location plays a part.
But genes plays like the primary part? Is that your claim?
I'm not. Demonstrating specific genes and traits.
Yeah, fine. How many white races are there?
I'm not 100% sure. Probably, I want to say something like 10 plus.
Okay. And they're going to be grouped geographically, right?
Yeah, generally.
Right.
And that's because of the mechanics of evolution?
Yes.
So if you took some German people and put them in Spain, they'd be a different race?
Eventually, yeah.
Eventually.
I mean, if the geographical differences are significant enough, I'm not exactly sure about what the environments are like in
I
Spain.
know you're not
Germany.
exactly sure.
Can you give an example of that? Changing the environment of a human and its race changing?
Well, it seems like the obvious example would be the light skin of people who reside in like the northern hemisphere versus the dark skin of people closer to the equator. Like, I don't think that we start with the supposition or presupposition that there's a bunch of white people hanging out in Africa with all the black people, and then only the white people decided to move up to the north.
Yeah, it seems like when you say it this way, how could anyone disagree with you? People accept evolution, right?
I don't know. That's why I'm confused.
Yeah. Well, you're confused why people disagree with you?
Yeah.
Is Joe still around? Maybe he can explain why people don't take. If they accept evolution, they don't necessarily accept race realism.
Yeah. The other thing is, it seemed like you supported the biological race concept. A lot of people cite Rosenberg to support the biological race concept, for example. But you agreed with my criticism and Massimo Pigliucci's criticism of citing that paper to support biological race concept. And also, frankly, you use a lot of. In the past, it sounded like you supported the view that race was a biological concept. And evidence of that is your insistence, even in our debate, that it could be conflated with subspecies.
Subspecies is a biological concept.
It is. So if you could conflate race with or if you could conflate race categories with subspecies, it seems like you would agree that race is a biological concept. But now I don't even know what you consider a race, and you also said that you don't think that black people could be considered a race. Right? We all didn't know. The things you said sounded like you felt that there was a black race, there was a white race, and it also sounded like you felt there was a biological grounding for these terms.
Yeah, that's inconsistent with what I've been saying for the last year or so.
Does anyone? What about what I said though? I mean, it sounded like if you were conflating race, and I mean,
Joe, I'll be right back 1 second.
all right, stay black.
Well, the thing is, it seems that the subspecies argument is used analogously. I don't think that any person says that, or well, I'm sure there's people that do say, but the whole idea is that subspecies is analogous to race. It's not exactly a good definition.
Yeah, but race is analogous to categorizing spoons and forks.
Right.
Sure. What's your point? I mean, yeah, the concept of a chair and a spoon is a social construct.
So does that mean that race? So you agree that you can't conflate race such that there's a fork race, and that is going to be compared to the white race and the black race. Then.
What?
Well, the thing is that if it's analogous, right? You're not saying it's synonymous.
No.
Okay.
No.
But did you
just
hear
saying
what
that
Iron? Do
the
you agree with
analogy-
what
no,
Iron was saying though?
I was listening a little bit, yeah.
Like he doesn't think there's a black race or a white race.
Well, he thinks that there are different groups of people that categorize into supergroups.
Super
maybe,
groups.
Right?
Like a super race?
Like cream, or yes?
No, Asia.
Asia, not yes. Yeah. Okay.
After all, it was the heat of the moment.
And obviously the supergroup eventually gets grouped into the species.
What's up, Joe?
Yo.
What up, blood?
What up, blood?
What up, blood?
How you been, Bacon Bone? This has been a great day. Have you been recording these last couple debates?
I recorded the one between John, and Tom.
This sounded pretty lit.
But if there was another debate, I just got back on here because my kid wanted to use the laptop.
Oh,
well,
your
Joe
kids.
and Ivan were having a discussion, but it wasn't great.
Oh, sorry.
It was just a lot slower, less action.
Sorry. What do I need to do?
Well, I don't know. Like Iron just defined race at the very end, and we were confused by it. So I don't think that helped.
I mean, to be fair, I was working with the assumption that he agreed with the conclusions of the arguments that Nasardic was putting forward.
Yeah, I mean, there
Who's
was a
this
lot
other
of
guy?
there was a lot of meta about what exactly the paper was trying to say. That didn't really seem important. Just
Oh, right, Visardic. I actually, yeah, you guys were talking about him
Yeah,
earlier.
that was really annoying. Like
Which paper?
there were I can send it to you in PM.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
It's like Iron said he strawmanned him, and I said I didn't think so, and I gave like specific reasons. But look, if he thinks that the straw man was that he was saying that Nasardic holds these positions, and we're getting down into into the weeds about that. It's frustrating because I would rather just attack the arguments that were being put forward, just in general, no matter who's putting them forward. So if Nasardic was just acting as an objective, not saying anything, like journalists who is just describing arguments that are supported by race realists, then fine. I think those arguments have problems. But that took up a lot of time, you're right. Oh yeah, hold on a second, Ace.
How's it going?